Tokusatsu, taking the form of many shows including Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, and Metal Heroes. And today, a group of fans come together to review it for you as Toku Secrets.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Toku Secrets podcast presented by AnimeSecrets.org. I am your host, Nathan Desa, and we are returning back to our Gokaiger review. Today we will be taking a look at episodes 11 through 16. Now, originally, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that we said we would be covering the Gokaiger crossover movie as well, but due to the very extensive level of content that we're going to have to cover in just these 6 episodes, we're going to have to postpone the movie part till next weekend. But we're still gonna come, but we still got a lot to talk about here. But of course, since I have so much content on this, I can't do it alone. I have 2 people joining me here, so if my 2 people will please state your names to the audience.
It is I, Captain Marvelous, your amazing captain of this vessel that we were on for this journey through Gokaiger, also known as Rizwan.
Hey,
But I would say I'm very marvelous.
and I am a shipmate Anthony. Well, aka
Crewmate?
the
Crewmate?
crewmate. Yeah, I don't know shipmate. I don't know what my title will be. So I'm just on the team. So
Yeah. You know,
Just
your
happen to be
profile
on
pic
board.
on Discord is Cure You Green, so we could say that Soji joined Captain
pretty much.
Marvelous or something like that.
Yeah, but then like me and freaking Jill had to fight over our sword skills of who's better. Like, I'm better swordsman. I'm like, no, it's me.
Well, my profile pic is Black Condor, so who would win between Soji and Joe? That is a question that I really don't think I can answer.
Me neither. I wouldn't even attempt to try that.
Yeah. That'd be an awesome fight, though.
It would
be.
One away, like I said, we're going to be covering Gokaiger episodes 11 through 16. Before we begin that, though, just want to go over a little bit of some Tokusatsu news. We still haven't received a trademark for the next Sentai after Zenkaiger, which is going to be 46, if I'm not mistaken. Nothing to be too alarmed, though, because what I don't think enough people realize is that these trademarks, like, yes, they've been revealed in September these last couple of weeks, but it's not actually been Toei revealing them. It's stuff getting leaked out. So I wouldn't be too alarmed about that. We can probably assume that Toei will make the formal announcement sometime soon. And not only that, but there have been a few trademarks that have been revealed in October, so I wouldn't be too afraid of that. There has been word that they're in the process of making a trademark, so we'll just have to see. I hear that there's a rumor, though, that they're going to be ninjas, which, if they are, I mean, really, you're going to do ninjas again? I mean, really?
this is like the 4th one.
Just don't repeat the absolute utter failure that we had last time.
Yeah.
Please, for the love of God, I still have like trigger memories about the lawnmower.
Oh God, not the lawnmower.
You know, I was recently. Go ahead, Anthony.
I wasn't even sure if did Ninja Steel? I completely blanked on this. Did Ninja Steel ever do a better adaptation of that or no?
No.
Okay, so they're both for trash. Okay.
Not even they could do anything with it. They didn't even try to adapt that into their. Could you imagine? what is the guy's name? His brother, the Blue
Uh,
Ranger.
Krista?
Yoshi. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yoshi's brother. Can you imagine Yoshi's brother
Peter.
having an
That's his name.
episode where he's like a magician and then also being a lawnmower protector?
Yeah. That'd be weird.
It'd be awkward, and I would not want to be there for that. That just sounds terrible on so many different levels.
Hmm.
I mean, everything about Ninja just was just the mechs were boring. I mean, it just had a real boring aesthetic. I mean, the best Ninja Sentai to me is still Hurricaneger, which was adapted
Yes.
into a Ninja Storm. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that Sentai actually.
I love the
Even
It was unique in how they did it.
Yeah.
Because, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I know we're going on a tangent here a little bit because it's us, and we didn't last time, I
Yeah.
don't think. But I think that was the first Sentai to feature a secondary team of Ranger type people.
yeah.
Because they didn't have anything like what the Thunder and the Wind Rangers prior in history of Sentai, I don't think.
Yeah.
And
And
I
even
thought they did really well from what I've read
mhm.
about it. I've never watched it, but what I've read has been really impressive.
Yeah, it was just overall pretty unique. But to kind of go off of the future of Sentai, though, well, just to clarify, just to wrap up that subject, if it's a ninja theme, that'll be great. But Toei, if you want to bring Sentai back up, you really need to try new brands. Like, I don't know, maybe do an insect theme. I mean, I know that insects are Common Rider's theme, but come on,
Yeah.
can't we do that
Or
already?
or give us
I
dragon
wouldn't
like you
even
promised
say
us, real soldier. Looking at you.
I want medieval knights.
Yeah,
Yes.
You know, what'd be cool too? Vikings.
yeah,
I
that'd
would
be
watch
awesome.
Viking Sentai. I would watch
And
that.
then like you have one season of medieval, one season of Vikings, and you have a crossover season.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Oh yes.
I mean, I get the fact that we're dealing with Japan, where they deal a lot with ninjas, and that's their thing, and dinosaurs are ubiquitous that everyone has them. But it's 2021, almost 2022. We're allowed to borrow like other cultural ideas. Let's bring in some knights. Let's bring in something unique and different. Let's go to space for real, not Gokaiser
Or,
space, like real space.
or if you just want to go off what's popular in Japan right now, just to capitalize this, because I was talking with my girlfriend about this, and she suggested like you could do a samurai theme again. But and Anthony could probably back me up with this. Instead of you could have it instead of just being like heavily samurai based with Japanese culture, like they did in Shinkenger. You could probably go for like a theme. I don't know, like Demon Slayer, because I mean you could rip that off,
Yeah.
but Demon Slayer is like the biggest thing in Japan right now, and it's pretty big here in the U.S. too. So
Definitely. Yeah.
that would be huge.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. But another thing about the future of Sentai, I was recently on the Super Sentai subreddit on Reddit, which is where I go to sometimes get news, and I heard word that, and again, this is just a rumor, so take it with a huge grain of salt, but apparently there's been talk that for the future of Sentai, when it comes to the mech fights, they're going to be transitioning to full CGI, which instead of having the mech suits for that,
Oh.
I don't know how I feel about that. Um, Now, of course, they've used CGI in mech fights before. Like whenever, like of course they have to use CGI whenever the mechs are transforming. And whenever the mech does something like really insane that a guy couldn't do in the suit, like like when SPD, when the Megazord is fighting, it has to like flip out of the way and like shoot a gun like it's in a cop movie. That obviously has to be CGI. But
Well, let me ask you this, and sorry to cut you off here, but
no,
why is
it's
that a
good.
problem?
Oh, I don't think
Why
it's a
would
problem. I think it could be good. I do think so, but there's also things that I think about, like, and I know that this is a really old example and CGI wasn't really the best, but if you want an example of a not so great CGI, look at the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, the original one, the Ninja Megazord, and the Ninja Megazord was CGI in that movie, and it
okay?
looked
See,
terrible.
I
It
understand
looked
that one.
awful.
I understand that complaint, but also that was like what 1995.
Yeah, I know.
I'm confident if you try today with today's techniques and what we are capable of, we do a much better job, much better.
I mean, I think
So
it's possible.
I wouldn't knock on it too quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I like to see what they do, and hopefully, if they use CGI, that allows them to get away with some more. Because the downside for it being a suit is that there's only so much you can do with that, but with CGI, you can do a lot more things, and maybe that could be a way for them to like create like more creative gimmicks with the toys for that, because
Yeah,
toys are the big thing for Sentai at the end of the day. So
yeah,
we'll
definitely.
see. I'm open to it. What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly like. It's okay to add CGI for like some of the cool like some of the stuff they couldn't do, as far as when it comes to like them using certain attack moves or certain moves where somebody's flipping over, things like that. But like going from just traditional suits to full CGI throughout the entire fight, I don't know. That's just
Well, okay,
eh.
so how do y'all feel about like the animated um properties out there? Like, for example, I'm reaching her a little bit, but like Voltron, for example, that's all CGI and a Netflix adaptation.
Well, with that, it was more or less like it was like an animated show. So I was like, okay, there's
Yeah,
going to be CGI in certain aspects of the show. I'm cool with that because it was a fantastic show and I still love it to this day.
yeah.
But like, but in live action, it just feels a little different. But
I'm more
it,
concerned about the budget implications with this, though, because you know I've noticed with Toku shows that like a lot of things that require heavy CGI they rarely use. And one example is in Kamen Rider Gaim, the Anthony, what was the watermelon arms thing called in Gaim? Was it like
uh,
Sukia?
Suki arms.
Yeah, that had to be like fully CGI for the common whenever a common writer would use it. And wouldn't you know, it only appeared in a couple of episodes.
Yeah,
So
01 had a whole mech thing too, where they had like a mammoth progress key, where when our main writer was using it, instead of him just transforming to a regular writer with the suit, he got a whole freaking like ship that turned into a robot, and then thus he had to power the robot like that. So, and it was all CGI. So,
Here's
it's
another
interesting.
here's another one I think was done well and was CGI and live action mixed with mechs, and I thought Pacific Rim was really well done too.
Which one?
Pacific Rim.
oh yeah.
So if they do something like Pacific Rim for a TV show level, that'd be fine. Like obviously it would not be like to the same theatrical level as Pacific Rim, but I think they could pull that off.
Yeah. Well,
All
I'm
right,
open to it. I'm not saying it's going to be terrible. It was just a
yeah,
interesting subject to discuss.
I think it'd be interesting to see it. I wouldn't call it bad. I wouldn't call it good. It's just something that if Toei and the Sentai creators think it's viable, because let's face it, um, I don't think they're making as much money as they used to from the property. Maybe their toys are still making a lot of money, but I don't think overall it's a crap ton of money like it used to be.
So this might or may not be a spoiler because like I'm not gonna like specifically say when this will happen or like how this will occur, but apparently in Zenkaiser as currently, they're supposed to be getting like a final mech, like final mech for like the a final mech basically for the series, and it may or may not be fully CGI. So once it finally pops up, then you'll be like, oh, this is how it looks. I guess like that's like their Ultra Sword basically, is that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So
Well, anyway, I guess the basic gist is that it's an interesting concept, but we'll just have to see if it's true or not, because all of this is just rumors at this point.
Right.
So, question to the audience: what kind of Sentai theme are y'all most excited to see?
Yeah, we like to see what your ideas are.
Yeah, because I'm really all about medieval knights at this point, or like even feudal Japan as a theme would be really cool. So, let us know.
Yeah. Well, those are just just a little bit of a news. It hasn't really been an eventful time in Sentai or Tokusatsu in general. We don't really have much to talk about Kamen Rider related. So with that being said, let's return to our Gokaiger review. So before we get started, I'm going to give a brief recap to the audience, just to remind you guys where we are. So basically, the Gokaigers, they are 5 space pirates searching for the greatest treasure in the universe. They hold the Ranger Keys, which are manifestations of all the Sentai Rangers' powers, which were lost in battle against the Zangyak. Now they're battling against the Zangyak on Earth as they search for the treasure, and in order to obtain the treasure, they must obtain the grand powers of all 34 of the previous Super Sentai, and as we are entering this review, they currently hold 4, which include Maji Ranger, Deca Ranger, Geki Ranger, and Gal Ranger. So, hope you all have that. So we're not going to begin with it. You guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Go change.
Let's make it so.
I'm gonna be doing episodes 11 and 12, covering those. Episodes 11 and 12, pardon me, are a 2-parter episode that is the tribute to Samurai Sentai Shinkenger. So as the episode begins, so we start off seeing Joe train with his sword, and then after we have a brief fight with the Zangyak, the Gokaigers receive their next clue from Navi, which is simply samurai. Well, okay, samurai, like really emphasis on the mu part. So while the Gokaigers are out looking for samurai, they come across a kendo group, and Joe has some brief flashbacks of his own sword training while he's seeing the kendo group practice with their swords, during which we're shown that he had a friend whose name is Sid Bomick, and he trained Joe how to use a sword, during which he showed Joe a very special technique. And we also get a brief flashback to episode 4 when Iam tries to ask Joe about something, during which we're reminded that Luca told Iam that Joe has, Joe was trained how to use a sword by someone who's very important to him, and we don't know what happened to Sid, of course, yet. That's a really big word in this context. But before the Gokaigers can continue their treasure hunt, they get met by the samurai they're looking for, and her name is Karu Shiba, and her servant Tamba. Karu Shiba is a former Shinkenger. She is the former, and her official Sentai name is Jaime Shinkenred. But in order to explain the full context, for those of you who have only watched Power Rangers Samurai, Karu is the equivalent of Lauren. She is the female version of the Red Sentai Ranger, the Red Samurai Ranger. So Shinken Red in this context. And she demands that the Gokaigers return the Shinkenger Ranger keys. And after getting into a brief fight with Marvelous, who tries to shoot her, because that's what Marvelous does.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So she gets into a fight with Marvelous, and then Joe challenges her to a fair duel with a sword, with the deal being that if Joe wins, Karu has to give the Gokaigers the Shinkenger's grand power, and if Karu wins, then the Gokaigers have to return the Ranger keys. They go about evenly matched in their duel before it's interrupted by a Zanyak attack. Now, the Gokaigers and Karu both rush there. Now, it's important to note that the monster of the day in this episode is they kind of make him out to be a bit more of a more powerful monster, because he's apparently one who's from like the elite guard of the Emperor, who we haven't seen yet.
The dad.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that during this invasion, the Gokaigers, for the first time in the series, encounter some of the main bad guys. They encounter Warzugil and Barryzorg, who accompany the monster of the day in the invasion. So that's pretty big. And they mock Warzugil, which is awesome because he's
As they should.
kind of pathetic. So the Gokaigers transform, and after getting into a brief fight, during which they use a few Gokai changes, the Gokaigers are overpowered by the monster, and Joe attempts to go after Warzugil himself so to basically just end this invasion. But of course, he's stopped by Barryzorg, who's Warzugil's bodyguard. And in the middle of the fight, Barryzorg uses a technique that is the exact same thing that Sid taught Joe to use. And Joe is, of course, shocked, which allows Barryzorg to overpower him and defeat him. And Warzugil then reveals that Barryzorg is Sid. Basically, Sid was captured by the Zanyak, and he was turned into this new cyborg. But he has absolutely no memory of who he is. So, yeah, that's a pretty big revelation.
Dun dun dun.
And the episode ends with Marvelous getting injured while attempting to protect Joe from an attack from Barryzorg. Warzugil, the Zanyak has to retreat because Warzugil gets hurt in the middle of the fight, and Joe disappears at the end of the episode. So that then leads us
like a little punk.
Yeah. So in the next episode, as it begins, Joe tries to get through to Barryzorg, who has returned to Earth to retrieve his sword. Barryzorg has absolutely no memory of his past as Sid. Like, he can't remember anything. He just keeps calling Joe a pathetic human, doesn't know who he is, and this causes Joe to fall into despair. Now, meanwhile, back at the Galleon, while the Gokaigers are trying to recover, and Karu and Tamba are with them, Marvelous insists that Joe will be fine, but he has to come back, and basically to kind of put a couple of things together, we're shown Joe's full backstory. So basically what happened was that Joe, before he became a Gokaiger, now we already knew this from a previous episode, he used to work for the Zanyak as a special force guy. His first assignment was to kill a group of children, and of course Joe refused to do that. In fact, he actually attacked some of the Zanyak people when they tried to do it, and he and Sid were thrown into prison. Sid helped Joe escape, but he was supposedly killed in the fight, although we obviously know now that he wasn't killed. And Joe spent the next couple of days running from the Zanyak, but unfortunately he had a tracker on his neck that allowed the Zanyak to follow him, and he couldn't remove it because it would shock him. But then luckily, Marvelous and Navi, and Marvelous was still traveling by himself at this point, found Joe, helped him fight off the Zanyak. Marvelous really liked Joe's fighting skills. Now, I'm not going to say anything specific, but the wording is kind of weird because in the middle of the fight, like Marvelous shows up, and then Joe is like, it's like, oh my god, that's Marvelous. He'll almost kill himself just to get something off of him. And with Joe free, Joe basically swore his loyalty to Marvelous to follow him, to help him with his dream. And he was also given his Gokai Blue Ranger key and Mobiritz. And as time went on, he saw that we saw Luca, Dawn, and I am join. Now we'll get to those moments later in the series. So there's that backstory. So while the other Gokaigers are fighting off a Zanyak invasion, during which we get some pretty cool Gokai changes where they all transform into different Gokaigers. Joe is at first really depressed, but then he remembers that he has the Gokaigers, which basically raises his spirits. Karu is impressed by the Gokaigers' bond, claiming that it seems to be almost as strong as that of a samurai, and agrees to give Joe the Shinkenger's grand power, provided that they defeat the Zanyak. Joe returns. The Gokaigers fight off the monster. They transform into Shinkenger with Shinkenger's goated theme song playing in the background. Yeah, Shinkenger's theme song is awesome.
It is.
They defeat the monster. The Shinkenger's grand power, which we're going to talk about a little bit because it's in a second because it's really weird. It allows the Gokaio to combine with Gao Lion, but in a different way, where it transforms into Shinken Gokaio, which is a robot that looks very similar to the Shinkenger's main robot, Shinkano. That's the equivalent of a Samurai Megazord if you're a Power Rangers fan. They defeat the monster, and I really love that. And then there's the final scene, which I really want to talk about briefly because it's one of my favorite moments in the show, where Marvelous, like, he faints, like he looks like he's in pain, and then he's like, "I'm hungry," and then they go up, and then as they're walking away, Joe kind of smiles and just silently realizes that, hey, I may have lost Sid, and I don't know if I'll ever get him back, but at least I got these friends. And then they go back to have dinner. I really like that moment because, like I said, Joe is my favorite character, and that kind of helps us segue into the review part. I've always loved that final scene of this episode. I love Joe putting his arms around Don and Iam because he's a really serious guy that rarely shows emotions, but the end of this episode where he realizes that he has the Gokaigers, and even if he never sees Sid again, he at least has friends. That's just a really powerful moment. And I loved it like 7 years ago when I was watching this show, and I still love it now. Just really touching moment. And I know it's just a simple one, but that's why I like it so much.
Definitely.
What do you guys think of this episode?
Definitely my most favorite two-parter when it comes to like Gokaiger. I really, really enjoy the fact that we get to learn more about Joe and how he, went from being like a Zanyak, scrub to like being the second command of the Gokaigers, essentially. So And it was great to see, Shikinger. I love Shikingers. Like Shikingers is one of my top 5 Sentais. So definitely seeing them again made, put a smile on my face. At least seeing one of them,
It would have been better if they brought back Takeru, but that's the actual Shinken Red.
Yeah, I guess maybe it wasn't available, so they got what they could get.
And like I said, I like the resolution here because, one thing that they did this also in RPM where it's like a character wants something, which in Joe's case is that he wants Sid back and he wants to restore Sid. And while he may not have accomplished that, he realizes that it doesn't matter, at least now, because he has something just as good, if not better, which is new friends. Similar like with RPM, where throughout the entire series, Dylan wants to find his past and everything. And the funny thing is that we never figure it out in RPM. But the deeper meaning is because it doesn't matter because he found something even better, which was new friends and better memories. I'm a real sucker for that, where it's like you go out wanting it's like, and I know it's subtle here, but I just really love that type of plot resolution where it's like you don't get what you want, but you get something even better. Does that make
Yep.
sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
What did you think, Riz?
So my thoughts were, it's not my favorite two-parter because I have another one that's like my absolute favorite, and Gokaiser, but it's definitely rated in at least, from what I can remember, the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a really well done episode, and I think the biggest strength I'm seeing up until this point in Gokaiser is, so at first look, when you think about Gokaizers, characteristics you'll probably think about are going to be aloof, non-caring, greedy, anti-hero, etc. Right? Like these are the things that Gokaizers pride themselves on trying to make people think they are. But then you get episodes like this where you see that Joe is hurting and he wants his friend back, and he's like, you know, he appreciates the people around him and they actually care about what they're doing. And that is a really big strength of it. And honestly, I think that's a big reason for why I like Gokaiser is just the level of depth we go in with the characters. It's not a shallow thing that's just a badass. Here are 34 Sentais that came before this one. They can transform into them. Whoop-de-doo. That's, if that was all it was, this wouldn't be my favorite Sentai. But because we have all that badass stuff, plus amazing character development and a really good plot, which we'll get into in, I think, 2 more episodes from now when we talk about that. But um, this just helps cement Gokaiser was done really well, and it's not just a um. People say, and I don't understand why they say it, but a lot of people say this is the Marvelous show because no other character really gets the spotlight, but yet the characters alternate so often on who gets the spotlight. If you really look at the episode list, that it's never just Marvelous doing his thing. It's always Marvelous has a couple episodes, Joe has an arc. They all have an arc. I mean, it's the thing, like Doc had one.
Well, there's a difference between being red centric and be like giving all focus to the Red Ranger and being red centric, but at least being aware that the other Gokaigers exist. And I would put I do think Marvelous does get majority focus in the show overall, but the
Yeah.
show is aware that it has other characters and gives them the focus when they need to. So, and there's a
Yeah.
huge difference with that. In the case of Tokuger, which we already reviewed, that's an example of just giving it all to Wright, the Red
Yeah.
Ranger, and then just doing absolutely nothing with the rest of the guys. But Gokaiger does a lot with Marvelous, but they let the other people shine.
Yeah.
Sorry to
Or like in
interrupt.
the case of King from Zero Ranger, that's also another case of this is a red centric thing. The other characters don't really matter.
Yeah, or Mystic
Um,
Force in Power Rangers.
yeah.
Yeah, that's another
Don't
one.
get me started on Mystic Force.
Yes, I
They
mean,
better be lucky. They better be lucky that Xander, Chip, and freaking Vita and Madison were all there, because if they weren't, the show would be terrible.
Yeah.
look, guys, it's all part of Plan Xander, all right?
Exactly. Always about playing Xander. I should know. I've
So,
interviewed him.
I know. I've seen the interview. It's great. You'll have to go watch it after this review, obviously.
Obviously, yeah, of course.
But yeah, I mean, look, these episodes are crafted well. So I've never seen Sinkenser, so a lot of the references are lost on me when we get specific. But I've seen Samurai, so I can follow the idea of, okay, this is Lauren. This is the same story, just copy pasted in American. So I understand what's going on, but it's still nice to be able to follow along with enough of the past Sentais to follow and know what's going on without having to have been through like 40 or 50 episodes of a prior series to understand this one. We're never, as an audience, left to feel like, well, I can't watch this because I haven't seen literally 30 plus years of content prior to it. And that's a huge compliment to the show, in my opinion.
Shoot, neither have I. Like, I have not seen any of the like Go Rangers 2, as far as even Jetman. I haven't watched any of those Sentais.
I mean, I haven't seen any Sentai prior to Gokaiger, actually. Everything I've seen comes after Gokaiger. I've seen Go Busters, I've seen Tokusatsu, I've seen Zeodzer. You know, I've seen different ones that come after, but I didn't really ever stop to look at the ones before it, which is something I'm going to start rectifying, I think.
I think Figures was my first. I think I went back to watch Go Onger, and then I started going forward after that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Gokaiger is my entry to Sentai because I found a YouTube clip of the Legendary War, and I was like, what?
That's awesome.
Really cool.
Always.
I watch this. Yeah, so like that was my intro to this.
The only thing, last thing I want to talk about before we move on to this next episode, and it's not even related to this episode, it's just in general. I always found this weird. I don't know how I feel about it still. So Shinkinger's Grand Power lets Gokaio transform with a Gao Ranger mech.
Yeah, I kind of get where you're going with this.
Well, okay, so hear me out. I think you're focusing on the wrong part here. I think what they're trying to do is they're saying, okay, so Gao Lion is, for all intents and purposes now, a Gokaiger mech, right? Like,
yeah, I get it, it's a
Gao doesn't
it's a
own it
Gokai
anymore.
machine,
Right. But so what they're saying is, we're gonna teach you a methodology for transformation that looks very similar to Sinkenzer O, or is it Sinken O?
Yeah,
See, that's how much I haven't seen of it. So yeah, they transferred to Sinken O, but they're saying, okay, we can't just use the primary 5 Galleon mechs. That doesn't work to make what we're wanting to do. So we need parts from the other mechs, which is valid because that's all Gokai's technology. So there's no reason to think, oh, Sinkenzer's heisting the Gao Ranger's mech. They're actually heisting the Gokaiser's mech, which is valid because now they have this other mech that's theirs now, and they're going to use it.
I guess I could see it like that. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It was just always weird.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I love the look of Shinken Gokaio, actually. That's probably my favorite alternate version of Gokaio so far. Like, they actually, it's really creative. I really like Shinken Gokaio. It's just the idea of having it be Gao Lion instead of, I don't know, maybe they could summon something like, I don't know, I mean, Karu is Shinken Red, so maybe she could have given the Gokaigers the Shishi origami, which is the Lion Folding Zord equivalent.
Well, If you go
But what
that
they did
route,
is okay.
if you go with that route, you have to say every one of the 34 past Sentais have to provide a mech, you know, and that's a great toy opportunity for Toei to monopolize on, and they should have done it. But also, can you imagine trying to balance having that many mechs and then getting the heat for saying, "Oh, well, you only used Sentai mech from this season once in the entire series, but yet you're using, for example, the Q-Rex every other episode or something." So
Well, as we'll find,
that's a hard balance.
yeah. Well, the grand powers in general are just a weird balance, though, because I mean, as we'll find out later in the show, like there are some grand powers that seem to be more effective than others. Because keep in mind, like as we're now, like as of now in the show, they have 5 grand powers, which is Maji, Deka, Geki, and Gal Ranger plus Shinkenger now. Like most of those are pretty effective, but the Geki Ranger Grand Power just allows you to summon the spirits of those Geki Beast, and they rarely use that one. Like as we'll find out, there are some Grand Powers that they tend to use more than others, so it's kind of a
Yeah, I
weird
mean,
balance.
the next grand power they get in episode 14, we're going to talk about it in a few minutes. That's a very useless grand power. That has no,
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
use to it. It's just worthless to me.
And there's going to be even, and spoiler alert, guys, but you know, whatever. There's a handful of grand powers that we never see used in the show.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we'll get to those later, but
45, I mean 40, 34 seasons, so it's not like they can just go through all of them in one show.
Yeah.
It
Well,
doesn't work that
they
way.
do a tribute episode for each of the Sentais, which I believe we get every one of the 34 as a tribute. The grand power should have been shown in some way.
Not all of them, but I don't want to. I don't. But I can't give you examples here in the review now because then we'd be spoiling it for
We'll
the
discuss
audience.
afterwards what I'm missing, because I might be missing one or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Anyway,
there's a few I can remember right off the bat. But anyway, we've
anything over. Let's go back to the review.
yeah, we're going to be moving on to episode 13 now, and I'm going to be turning the review over to Anthony for episodes 13 and 14. So the floor is yours, Anthony.
Alrighty, so with episode 13 is Tell Me the Way. In this episode, basically, I'm gets
the way.
kidnapped.
Is this about the Mandalorian? The way?
Well, I was thinking of that and freaking, Do You Know the Way?
Yeah.
Brother,
But,
you does not
sorry,
know the
when you-
way.
say again?
I spit on you. You don't know the way.
Right. Who you?
title has the words "the way" in it in that sequence, there's no way you're going to avoid a Mandalorian joke. So,
Right.
to make that.
I mean, look, Nathan, this is the way. It was known.
It's always the way.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, sorry, Anthony. Go ahead.
No, you're good. So basically, in this episode, An gets kidnapped. Well, not really, but like, so she's walking around town, just saying, "Oh, let me look at all this beautiful, scenery and whatnot." She comes across this guy, keeps following her, and he approaches her. He's like, "Oh, can you show me the directions to the train station?" She's like, "Yeah, sure, I can show you." And they walk. He pulls a gun on her, saying, "This is a kidnapping. I'm gonna kidnap you. Give me whatever money you have. I'm paying for your to get hostage." And so you're thinking, "Oh my god, like I'm gonna get kidnapped. What's she gonna do?" And then you also think that this is she's a pirate from one of the Sentais of a pirate, alien pirate and shit. So she's probably gonna have able to throw hands against somebody, and we're not too worried about it. And so obviously she shows in the episode that she can deal with somebody who has a gun, as she flawlessly kicks the dude's ass and just basically takes the gun from him. And she notices, oh, this isn't even a real gun, it's fake. It's a toy gun, whatever. And the dude explains that like he's in severe amount of debt. I know he owes like a bunch of people money, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He has no money. I think he lost his job or whatever, so he's kind of like, so he's just down his luck basically. And so I'm the lovely, but sometimes she can be clueless too. It just basically calls up the team and says, "Hey, I've been kind of kidnapped, but like I need some money to pay this dude." And they're just like, "What? You got some nerve kidnapping our crewmate or whatever." So they never really know who kidnapped her. They just know that there's a guy there that's with her at the time. And so, meanwhile, that's going on. The Zanyak have like this little silver piece. They're like, I forgot what. No, they're looking for something that they can use to create poison with. And they go to Earth. They send them a monster to go find it or whatever. And the monster ends up attacking I'm with the guy. So he's like, "Hey, you had that thing we're looking for," and the guy's like, "No, we don't. I don't know what you're talking about." And so she saves the guy. They escape. While that's going on, Marvelous comes in. He tries to he notices something that she wasn't there when everything happened, and so he looks and he's like, "Oh, she was here because her necklace had fell off during the attack." And so now they're trying to figure out what's going on with the situation and whatnot. And then I'm ends up talking to the guy more, saying that he should make sure everything that he should try to do better for his life, and come to find out that the thing that the Zanyak were looking for was actually in the hands of the kidnapper. It was like a little silver, it's almost like a coin almost. And he's like, "Oh, you mean this thing I found?" He thought it was like a coin or something. And it turns out it was actually the same coin that the Zanyak were looking for, so they can create poison with it. And ended up in the hands of this guy. And so I'm trying to, make sure the guy is safe. And then the Gokaigers show up. And this is the funniest part right here. So they assume that the kidnapper was actually the monster of the week. And their confusion, and she just goes on with it. She's like, "Oh yeah, it was this guy. He did do it." And so they fight the monster. They beat it. And of course, they are saved, blah, blah, and the guy, he basically just, goes off in the distance and just, tries to do better for his life. This was actually a decent episode for just being one filler, but it was okay in my opinion. It was good for a laugh. So, what you guys think?
Yeah, I think this episode does. If there's one purpose that this episode does have, just for later implications, is that it gives very subtle foreshadowing, because there's some hints that Aya may have lost something that was important to her. She hints that she's lost her planet because she's constantly, looking over Earth and how beautiful it is. So it does give some very subtle hints. And I don't think Anthony. I don't think we pointed this out yet, but this is actually the first episode that Ian gets all to herself in the show.
Yeah, this is her first solo episode, just her.
Yeah,
she's not sharing it with Doc. She's not sharing it with Luca, which I don't think her and Luca have any episodes yet. But
our little Ian's all grown up now.
I know, right?
Yeah. It could have been, maybe it could have been somewhat better. I mean, I don't know. I can't say what I would have done better. I just, but I did like this episode. I mean, it's good for a filler episode, and heck, it's also good for this review, because unfortunately the next 3 episodes that we have to talk about contain a lot of stuff, so we got to appreciate this episode for giving us a brief breather.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
Yeah, honestly, if you want to just I'm not saying this is it's a person who doesn't skip episodes, but if you're a person who watches this show and you're just like, I just want to see all the cool Gokai, just the new powers they get or whatever, you can skip this episode easily and just go straight to the more plot focused episodes if you want
As
to.
character people like us, I mean, you could get something out of it. Not a bad.
Yeah.
We're not saying it's a bad episode, but
No, by no
No,
means.
it's a fantastic episode. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean,
yeah,
No
it's not going to contribute to the overall Gokai
plot.
mission, but
Yeah,
it gives you that much needed plot to give you an idea of, okay, so we had a chick who's wearing pink and she's kind of soft spoken and doesn't really do a lot, but she's really nice. That's all you got until here. But now you got more detail that, okay, she's also a badass. She can take care of herself, but she's also very kind and very forgiving. And she gets
very forgiving.
So I would not hold it against her that, it's a good way to continue to keep our characters rolling and to give them some real life, that we're just missing. There's no life right now, really.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can move on to the next one now because we got a lot more stuff to cover. So we're gonna have to keep moving.
Yeah.
So,
So
episode 14, Anthony.
This is episode 14. Now more road safety, which is the Gekiso Sentai Ranger tributes.
This is gonna be so much fun.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I love this episode.
So in the beginning, Nabi, which is our navigator / small robot bird that we have, does the prediction as he always does, and it's about traffic safety. He actually this is a very interesting episode because you actually get to kind of see what Navi kind of envisions in his head when it comes to the predictions. He has a dream about being on the road and just driving. I think he was like a small car or whatever, and just starts driving.
Yeah. Like the go on your engines.
Yeah, it's like Machine World. I was like, that's like almost like a small Easter egg for Goanger. I was like, that's cool. And then what does that mean? Like traffic safety. Like what? I mean, okay, but what does that have to do with us? And so Barizor reveals to Wars Guild that a man had interfered with their action commander, Zongat, which was the same creature we saw in the last episode, and at a crosswalk, which I guess that was maybe the reason why they ended up meeting with that action commander. That moment was during that time, I'm assuming. They have a new action commander who was named Jellisto. I guess that's pronounced Jellicito. And he's basically in love with the Insari, which is our monster maker / monster grower of this season.
Monster girl.
Because I guess they knew just since high school from what it's telling me. And we end up seeing Racer, Red Racer, which was the Red of Car Ranger at the time. He's much older now, which is was always good because I've seen Car Ranger literally I think last year, because I remember it was early last year I actually finished it all. So I was like, okay, this is a nice funny little Sentai that I like. It wasn't too bad. He is attempting to teach children about the basis of safety, but of course kids don't care about that crap. They're just like, whatever. And Jellicito and and his army are basically attacking the park and attacking him per se, because Insarine ends up falling in love with him. I think, yeah, he ends up falling in love with Jinai Kyosuke, which is Red Racer. And so really this is about capturing him instead of just being like attacking, for no reason. The Gokaigers intervene, and they actually turned to the Zoo Rangers at this time. And of course, they beat the crap out of the monster, and it was very hilarious how they did it. So in the end, they actually meet Kyosuke, and he reveals that, oh yeah, I'm Red Racer. And they're like, hey, you tell us what the Grand Power is, and he doesn't tell them right away because either A, he doesn't know what it is, or B, he just wants to. He does know what it is, but he just wants something out of it so that they can give it to him. He asked them to do like this safety thing with him, so that way he can teach kids like, hey, the importance of safety. And so they decline, as obviously you would think they would do that, because they're not like, we're not doing that crap. And but Jelicito attacks again, and I think Dawn was with him at the time, so Dawn's with him, and I think Isarian shows up too to stop him from attacking Jinrai and Dawn, but mostly for Jinrai because that's her new boo thing, so she's trying to save him, obviously.
And also, fun little fact here: this is the first time that the Gokaigers encounter Insarn in person.
Yes, this is definitely the first time they encounter each other, and they've
now encountered all four of the main villains now, except for Damarus.
Damarus, yeah, which we'll talk about in a very, very later video.
Yeah,
and so they attack. So he attacks, and I think the other Gokaigers show up, and there's a funny scene. Isarian is literally demanding them to help Jinrai, and they're just like, okay, sure, we'll help.
Why not?
Yeah, transform and help. What are you doing? Just standing there looking? Help him. It was like, okay. I thought they would have been like, wait, no, we don't listen to you. Like, who are you? But that's just a funny thing that they did. And so I know they like kind of lose at first, but they wind up trying to transform into the Car Rangers. But actually, in actuality, they end up turning into the Turbo Rangers instead, which is kind of ironic because the Turbo Rangers was actually Car Rangers American Power Rangers adaptation, which is, it's kind of funny that they call themselves Turbo Rangers in America, but in Japan they had Turbo Rangers, but they also have Car Rangers, so it's kind of like funny that they did that.
Very subtle Power Rangers joke. Very subtle.
Exactly.
It was
Very
great.
subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I just love how like they were like on different like types of like they had skateboard, freaking rollerblades. I think one of them was on a unicycle. I think it was Donna was on a unicycle. I think, or bicycle. I can't remember which one it was. And they all attacked. Of course, it's just freaking funny because like Marvelous was the only one that didn't have like a vehicle that he was on. I think he was sitting on top of Dawn, and he kind of just like got off the bike because like I think Kyosuke was telling him like, hey, like don't do that. And so, Yoshido grows, and like Jinrai is basically like telling Jelicito to how he truly feels about her, and the Gokaigers, well, actually, Isarian tells Jelicito she loves him too, even though it's kind of like weird that she would just flip flop her emotions like that. But I get, what can you do, females, right? I'm joking, ladies. Don't type in the comments, please.
Anthony, what have you done?
I'm sorry, it was a joke.
Why would you do that?
I know that now they're gonna be like, oh, he's a woman hater, womanizer, blah blah blah. I'm like, no, that was just a joke. Relax.
Oh man.
But anyway, so the Gokaigers do end up using the ultimate power of the Car Rangers, but it's just a spin out attack basically. I forgot what it was called in the Japanese version, but that's just how the spinning finishing move that they do in the end of the battle. And that was
That's
it. And
not-
I was like, and
Yeah.
it was just not great. I was like, that's it? But whatever. And surprisingly, Josito is not dead. He actually does live throughout this fight. He escaped. He goes into space after they attack him, and he shrinks back down to his regular human size, and just all smoked up, and he's just like beat up from the fight, and just is unconscious. Meanwhile, in the park, Jinrai basically gets the Gokaijers to do their little skit, and they do the pose. Of course, they did. And Jinrai is just like, yeah, like you did it. And that's the end of the episode. And this episode actually was pretty
What's the important
funny.
part?
What I miss?
What is the grand power?
Yeah, it's actually not the grand power that allows them to use the finisher. They just use that move.
Yeah.
According to Jinai, their grand power is just for them to do the pose where they like rev their arm around, but Gekiso Sentai Ranger. And then
I did not realize that. My mistake, guys. I
Okay.
thought that
That's
they
the real
did.
thing.
And then
'Cause,
Navi
like-
was all like, well, I guess some grand powers are useless.
That's what it was. Okay, so yeah, I did remember that now. Looking back, I was like, why? Like, what?
Yeah. So I just want to
Yeah.
say this right from the start again. I think I'm the only one of us three that has seen Car Ranger all the way through.
I've seen it too. I've seen all the way through too.
Okay.
I have not.
Okay, well, I could just say this. This is a perfect tribute for Car Ranger because
Most
I
definitely.
don't know if, for those of you back home, maybe you got hints of it if you've seen Turbo, but Car Ranger is a parody of Super Sentai. It just does things absolutely ridiculous. The way that the villains make the monsters grow is just so ridiculous that it's hilarious. Just the final, the plan for the main villain is just funny. Like, it's all just hilarious, and this just completely embraces it. There are so many, obviously the mecha battle at the end is absurd. The fourth wall joke is just hilarious. Where I think we told you this, but every time the Gokaigers encounter a former Sentai Ranger, there'll be this legend shift where their Sentai Ranger form will overlay over them. Well, when the Gokaigers encounter Jinai and Red Racer appears over him, Jinai is like, "What is this on me?" And then he swats it away. That was
like a fly. Oh, Red, you almost forgot another tribute that they kind of did for Car Ranger. And you remember in Car Ranger, the female villain of that season falls in love with Red Racer, who is Janai. Yeah. And in this one, Isarin is the one that falls in love with him in this one. So it's like a small little Easter egg. Like, remember this?
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. I only know that because I recently watched it, so that's why I remember it. Like, oh yeah, like she fell in love with him too, so that was funny.
I mean, maybe there are some people that get annoyed with stupid comic relief episodes, but this is one of those tributes where there was no way you could do a tribute episode to Car Ranger and not have it be a really absurd, funny episode. There's no way you were going to get away with that because Car Ranger is just not a Sentai that you can take seriously. I mean,
you really can't.
If you watch Car Ranger, it's if you think the early episodes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers are cheesy and just so over the top and silly, if you watch Car Ranger, you are in for a ride.
They're not that bad, honestly. It could be worse. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And even if you watch Turbo, I mean, you could sometimes get hints. I mean, because even though Turbo tried to be serious, there were moments where they would, where they would keep the sillier elements for Car Ranger. I don't know, like in like one of the early episodes of Car Ranger, there's an episode where Tommy, and this is obviously Car Ranger footage, pulls out the manual to figure out how to drive his Zord. I mean,
But I mean, yeah, it's pretty campy.
in one of the episodes of the Phantom Ranger saga, when the Rangers get their new Zords, the rescue Zords, and they're battling against that giant robot. Literally in that battle, which is supposed to be like with epic music playing in the background, Cassie shoots something that like jabs the robot in his butt, and then the robot's eyes literally pop out of its head like it's some kind of cartoon. Like
Yeah.
that's regular main play in Car Ranger. So,
Oh yeah. Very goofy, but
yeah.
funny. But I liked it though.
I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but just even the way that they make the monsters grow, like in Turbo, Divatox just shoots torpedoes at the monster. I'm not going to spoil it for Riz or anybody, but even the way that they grow the monsters in Car Ranger is just like you cannot laugh at that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Specific way they do it too. That's the funny part because you don't figure it out yet. It'll be like, what? How do they do that?
yeah. But yeah, this episode was awesome. I like. I mean, the sillier elements. Just it's the perfect parody for Car Ranger. What did you
Yeah,
think, Riz?
definitely. I agree. I never seen Car Ranger. I don't know if I have plans to really watch it anytime in the near future, but I thought it was interesting to see how they are compared to the Turbo Rangers. Because Turbo, they were serious the entire time because, they're picking up 3 or 4 years of content with Mighty Morphin and Zia before it.
There were a few episodes that were kind of like comedic or just like, what was the point of that?
The sing along, that was pretty cringy.
Yeah. Oh my
Or
god.
the pizza episode.
Oh,
Speaking of giant pizza, TJ still talks about that to this day.
Uh-huh. I don't blame him. I'll talk about it too if I were him.
Yeah.
yeah, but again, baked into a giant pizza. That's like tell like in an episode of Car Ranger. I mean, that's just main play for it. You
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if it works, right?
Well, we got a lot to talk about in these next two episodes. They're pretty action packed. We got a lot, so we're gonna have to move on to those two for episodes 15 and 16. And
Yeah.
We'll be
Rizwan, you're going to be
potatoes.
able to do the honors. So let's get on it.
Oh boy. All right. So, the episode opens with the
Episode 15 is called "A Privateer Appears." By the way.
Yes, thank you. The episode opens with the Gokaisers hanging out in the galleon, and Dawn walks in and says, "Hey guys, our bounty went up again," and everyone gets excited. They're like, "Really? How much did it go by this time?" And they start discussing that, and um, they start discussing how the Gokaisers bounty is becoming comparable to what the Akaki pirates, which translates to the Red Pirate Gang's bounty was. And Ahim mentions Marvelous used to be a member of that, and Marvelous is kind of like, yeah, whatever, and moves on real quick because he didn't want to talk about his time as a Red Pirate Gang member. Um, hint, hint. That's a huge focus for the episode. Hint, hint. So Marvelous goes and says, "Hey Navi," or actually he says, "Hey Bird, what's our next clue?" And Navi does the typical spinner in the room, hid himself all over the place, and comes out and blurts out some clue. Except this time, it's not just a find a samurai or learn traffic safety. It's danger incoming, danger incoming. And they're all like, what? And even Navi's like, that's not normal. So I try again. Um, so they immediately after the Zanyak start to detect a new vessel entering Earth's atmosphere, and they're discussing well, who is this person and why are they here and what the heck's going on? And it turns out it's a privateer. It's not like any um it's a privateer that's loyal to the Zaniac. The Zaniac trust him, so they have to let the guy through. Enter Bosco. Bosco Ta Zalakia. I can't say that, I think.
Lokia.
Look, yes, that. Thank you. Um, and his trusty space monkey sidekick Sally. Because why wouldn't you have a space monkey sidekick named Sally? Really, of all the things, Sally, space monkey. All right, okay. So yeah, he arrives, and Bosco and Marvelous have an interaction when Bosco finds Marvelous after a quick scrim. It was like a quick scrimmage with the Zaniac, and Marvelous is completely taken by surprise when he hears the words Marvy-san because he's not used to being called that anymore, and the only person that does call him that is Bosco. And Marvelous gets really upset, and he is just really not happy to see Bosco there. And Bosco reveals a couple of things. One, he's there to get the treasures, and two, that Bosco and Marvelous were both part of the Akaki Pirates with Navi and Aka Red. Aka Red being the spiritual embodiment of the previous Red Sentai Rangers that appeared in the Bokenzer vs. Sentai crossover movie for the 30th anniversary. So if you've seen that movie, you'd know all about Aka Red. I have not seen that movie, so I don't know much about him. But
Yeah, well, this show tends to. He didn't really do much in that movie. Like we didn't really see him much as a character. In fact, interestingly enough, this show probably expands more upon his character than anything in that. All it is that he just appeared in that. So
okay,
that there's not really much else to say other than that he was in that movie,
yeah,
and that movie sucks, by the way. But that's another conversation.
we'll have to talk later.
Yeah.
So yeah, Aka Red, Navi, Marvy, and Bosco were all in the crew together, and they hung out and they did pirate stuff. Presumably they were going on to hunt for the greatest treasure in the universe, and yeah. So they reveal during the recap that the pirates had actually traveled the entire universe after the legendary battle to try and recover the lost Ranger keys for all the 34 Sentais that were that lost their powers after the battle ended. And the after the Ranger kids were all gathered, it turns out Bosco actually double crossed Akared and Marvelous and turned into an ally for Zaniak and stole the Ranger keys from them, thinking that was the key to unlock the treasure. Pun intended, by the way. So Akared and Marvelous have to fend off all the Zaniak, and Akaret says Marvelous says, "Hey, take the keys and run as far as you can." And Marvelous runs with the keys, and Akaret is left to his own kind of demise or fate.
Yeah.
It's not really. It's not really clear what happens to Akaret after per se.
Yeah.
Um,
He could be dead, he could be alive, but he could just, be somewhere. But,
So
not sure.
this is the moment that we can all cite as the origins of Gokaiger as a team. Because it's at this point that Marvelous becomes Gokai Red, because the key is in the box and he uses it. So presumably after this, he meets Zoe and Ahim and Dawn and all the others, and they form
over the course of the next couple of years. And we can assume that Aka Red made the Mobirates. I guess because the funny thing is that we see Bosco with his own Mobirate, even though he has the keyhole sealed shut. So
yeah,
let's just assume that Aka Red made those.
It could be that, or it could just be that the embodiment of Sentai's energy created it as well. That's also a possibility.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't rule out the fact that, it wasn't him that made it, or it was like the spiritual embodiment that made it. Anyway, so Marvelous decides I must find the greatest treasure to keep his promise to Akira that I will find a treasure and I'll, make my wish. So the team splits apart from Bosco because the Zanyak are attacking, and well, they can't fend off Bosco and Zanyak, so they go and regroup. And Marvelous decides to leave his group behind and return to find Bosco on his own to have a one-on-one talk, old friend to old friend, as you may. And when he meets Bosco tells him, "Hey, so you're blindly following the advice of Akared, but you don't even know what, like, you don't even know the whole story. Akared held a lot back from you." And Marvelous is like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, have you ever seen these Ranger keys?" And pulls out a bunch of Ranger keys. He pulls out 5 and says, "Look at these." And by the way, these are all former 6 Ranger keys. So we see, like, I think Time Fire, Deca Break,
Yeah.
King Ranger, and Cyric.
Sure, Kendra.
Ranger? Yeah,
And
and
Dragon Ranger.
Dragon Ranger, yeah.
And for those
So,
of you back home that don't know, that is the Green Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, the Gold Zeo Ranger, even though he's considered black in Sentai.
Yeah.
The Quantum Ranger from Power Rangers Time Force, the Green Samurai Ranger from Ninja Storm, and the Omega SPD Ranger.
yeah.
Yep.
So, Marvelous is just stunned that there are more keys that he didn't know about, and Bosco reveals that he has 10 of these keys, at least. So the other Gokaijers arrive as the battle begins, because at this point, Bosco also reveals that he has a flute, and the keys fit in his flute very much so, like how the Mobirat can take in a key. He can take in 5 keys to his flute and actually bring the power to life. So the suit comes to life with the powers, and there's a person inside, or a spirit inside, or something, and they're controlled by Bosco to fight the Gokais, which is really, really devious.
Yeah.
So the other Gokais arrive and say, "Yeah, we're just in a neighborhood, and we saw that Bosco has more keys, and well, if we're Gokaizers, that's our job to get those keys. So here we are, and don't worry, Marvelous, we're not going to get in your way. We're just here to get the keys. You can handle Bosco. We'll handle these clowns." And unfortunately, the key clones easily just defeat the Gokaizers, and
Well, they defeat the 5 that Bosco released, but then Bosco releases his other 10 Ranger keys.
yeah, there's 15 of them total, I believe, or maybe 16.
And the other ones are first he releases those 5, and the Gokaijers defeat those, and then Bosco reveals, "Oh, yeah, I have 10 more."
Yeah.
Which include pretty much all the other 6th Rangers.
So you have like Mega Silver, Opera Killer, Boken Silver,
Kiva
Ghost
Ranger.
Knight,
So that
Maji
Shine, yeah.
and then the 2 Goons are what are these? Gold and silver? Is that what they're called?
Silver and gold. Silver and gold.
Okay.
So for those of you back home, that's the White Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, the Silver Space Ranger, the I'm just gonna the White Dino Thunder Ranger, the Lunar Wolf Wild Force Ranger, Gold, the Solaris Knight from Mystic Force, the Gold Samurai Ranger, both the Gold and Silver Rangers from RPM, Robo Knight. His name is Gosei Knight in Gosager, and there's one more.
Let's see.
Oh, the Mercury. That's my favorite. Sentai Sixth Ranger, and I forgot about him. What is wrong with me?
Ooh.
Vulcan
Silver.
Silver.
How do you forget Boken Silver? You're fired.
Oh my god!
You're fired.
Yeah, I stand down. The mostly Operation Overdrive Ranger.
Well, that's a good reason to forget him.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So yeah, these 10 keys are the ones that defeat the Gokaizers. And Bosco during the fight takes Zoe, Luca, Don, and Iham hostage, but he lets Marvelous keep the Ranger keys that they defeated, the first 5. So that would
Yep.
be Dragon, King, Timefire, Sirenkinzer, Deca Break.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that's where the episode ends. Dun dun dun.
Boy.
Alright. So let me just say real quick. Sid hit the fan.
Yeah.
In a really bad way here.
Really
So-
bad way.
We'll do our thoughts on this when we get through the 2-parter. So let's get into episode 6, Class Sentai vs. Sentai. So in this case, the episode picks up right where it leaves off. Bosco tells Marvelous that his demands are simple to give back his the Gokaizers to him. He wants the Ranger Keys, Gokai Galleon, and Navi. Basically, everything you need to hunt the greatest treasure in ease. Because you got the keys that are apparently useful to get the greatest treasure in the universe. The Gokai Galleon is just comfortable to hang around in. And then you got Navi. You need Navi because he's the one who gives you all the hints. So you use all these guys to put together the way to get it. So he wants that. And Marvelous is left to decide, do I give over the stuff or do I risk losing my friends to the Zanya? Because Bosco said, if you don't give me the friends, or I mean, if you don't give me the stuff I'm asking for, your friends will go to Zanyak and, well, there's a nice bounty on their heads, as we've come to find out in the beginning of episode 15. And I'd like to collect it if you don't want to comply. So, Marvelous returns to the Galleon and he thinks about it. And he contemplates how he found the Akka Ranger key while on this treasure hunt, and he meets Akka Red for the first time, and how that leads to him joining him on the hunt and joining the Akaki Pirates, and the hunt begins for the greatest treasure in the universe. When that cutback scene ends, Marvelous decides, no. Akka Red taught me that my friends are a great asset. I can't lose them. So he agrees to give Bosco what he wants in exchange for his friends. However, Marvelous decides when he gets there to say, no, you're not going to get the keys, the Galleon, or Navi. And he says, because I'm a pirate, I'll do what I want because that's what I do. And I want my crew back and I'm going to get it back right now. And I'm like, go Marvelous!
That's a clap. That's a clap for you. That's a clap
That's
right
a clap,
there.
clap, because he's just like, he's the most epic of men. I don't care what you say. He's
Oh,
just
he
amazing.
is.
Absolutely.
So Marvelous does this really cool number where he throws the chest up with all the keys, and the keys scatter around, distracting Bosco and Sally. Why Sally's there? What is the monkey doing in this fight? Whatever. So the Gokaizers in the distraction are able to contain Sally, and what the thing that's really brilliant is that in the chest, not only is it a distraction, but also Marvelous's Mobirit's in the chest, and Don's able to catch it in his mouth, and Joe catches a sinking green key and plugs it into the Mobirit in Don's mouth, allowing Don to become sinking green and to free the others.
That's the first time that
That was beautiful.
technically the kid did this in the second episode, but this is the first time that a Gokaiger has transformed directly into a previous Sentai Ranger without transforming into his Gokaiger form first.
Mhm.
It might be the only time that they do it in the show. I could be wrong, but
There's other times, I think.
yeah. But that's the first time they do this in the show.
Yeah.
And the last episode we forgot to mention, was the first episode where none of the Gokaigers changed into a former Ranger.
Yeah, that's also the like straight just them just the Gokaigers. That's it. They don't turn into any other Ranger before that at all. Shocking.
Just a brief fun fact there.
Yeah. So, Dawn frees the remaining Gokaigers using Sinkin Green's powers, and they get their Mobiles back because they got it from Sally's belt, and they Gokai Zanes, and while this is going on, Bosco's trying to steal the Ranger keys that fell from Marvin's chest, but Navi, being the amazing little bird that he is, has already gathered up all the keys and put them back in the chest and flew back to the galleon. And Bosco just left like, that's a good move. That's a really good move. So the Gokaigers start to fight the 10 keys that are remaining. So I'm going to look off the notes here because there's a lot going on, so I don't want to mess it up. Luca and Ihim are the ones that fight Abra Killer and Boca and Silver and defeat them. After a great battle, Zoe and Dawn defeat Mega Silver and Gao Silver. Ironic because they're both silver. Interesting. And Marvelous takes on Sinkin Gold by himself. Following this, the 5 Gokaigers then take on the Kiba Ranger, Magisign, Go On Gold and Silver, and Gosei Knight with a final wave. So this leaves just Bosco and Sally, and Sally, as I've said many times, is very useless here. It's a monkey. So Bosco releases his own monster onto them and runs away to fight another day. And in doing so, he lets them keep the 10 Ranger keys. And this is going to be very important for our next review about the movie. Just keep that in mind, all right? Yeah. So the Gokais defeat the monster, and then as they're doing their recap on, what happened, their little brief after, they say, well, wait, your prediction didn't lead to grand power, but to 15 new 6 Ranger keys, and that's big. We didn't know these existed. And little did they know, there's way more to come out of it. Because at the end of the episode, Bosco reveals he has 10 more, and these are all based off of the, I guess you call these like the extra Rangers.
And
so you got like
Bangai heroes, apparently, from what I'm reading in the wiki.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this for a sec, because I don't know if I know the distinction between an extra Ranger versus a Bangai hero.
Well, I guess when they talk about Bangai heroes, so just to tell the audience the 10 keys that he has, and they're all from Power Rangers. There's a Signal Man who was the Blue Centurion in Power Rangers Turbo. Black Knight, or the Magna Defender from Lost Galaxy. Deca Master and Deca Swan, which are the Shadow SPD Ranger and the Cat SPD Ranger. Yes, even though she only appeared in one episode. In both SPD and Deca Ranger, by the way. She still gets her own key for some reason. The Wolzard Fire and Maji Mother, which are Wolzard Fire is the Wolf Warrior from Mystic Force, and Maji Mother is the White Mystic Force Ranger. Then we have Zuban, who is the Sentinel Knight from Operation Overdrive. Rio and Melee, which are the equivalents of Jared and Camille's forms. So the Black Lion Warrior and the Green Chameleon Warrior. So basically Jared and Camille from Jungle Fury.
Yeah.
And finally, like I said earlier in this review, Jaime Shinken-Red, the female version of Shinken-Red. Kind of weird how they're both they're both Ranger keys, but then again, I mean, if you watch Power Rangers, you'll notice that they were both actively Rangers at the same time. So it sense.
So
But
it's kind of funny that like if the princess actually managed to get the keys back from the Gokaigers, she missing a key because she would
yeah,
have Takuru's key, but she wouldn't have her own key. She's like,
yeah.
wait, where's my key? Like, there's supposed to be, 7 of us,
Well,
but there's only 6.
but to answer Riz's question, the two examples of like a Bangai hero, I guess you could say, that are in these keys would be the Signal Man and Zuban, because neither one of those heroes, like their Ranger form was their only form. Like they were only, like they had no civilian form. Um, so therefore, they would be considered Bangai heroes, and like the extra heroes and extra rangers. I guess an extra hero would be someone um, like the Black Knight, or the Magna Defender, um, and I guess Rio and Melee, because I don't think you would consider either one of those guys like actual Rangers, especially not the Magna Defender. I mean, I know he has a morpher and I know he has a human form, but his suit is much different, so I don't think you could consider himself a Ranger. So that would be an extra hero. And then the ones that are actual Rangers, again, like Shadow Ranger, Cat Ranger. Am I making sense, or?
I guess I understand the extra ranger concept. It's a Bangai hero I don't get.
You have to get, I mean, like even in Power Rangers, they have, they have, they call them like Ranger like allies, and some of the
Yeah.
other examples,
I mean, those are just the extra heroes, aren't they?
Ninjor is a big example. It's considered in Power Rangers in Sentai, like he'd be considered a Bankai hero because he doesn't, transform like, have a civilian form.
And by the way, there's a reason why there's no Ninjor's name in the Sentai is called Ninja Man. There's a reason why there's no Ranger key for him, but we're going to get to that a little bit later.
Yeah.
And then, other examples. I can't remember what he was called in O Ranger, but that Tiki dude from Zeo, Oric the Conqueror, he was called in Zeo. He only appeared in like 2 episodes. I can't remember what he was called in O Ranger.
He was called something.
Gunmajin, I think.
He was
Gun, but he would be another example of a Bangai hero, and I don't know why they don't have one for him, but he didn't really do much in O Ranger, so I guess, I mean, and he only appeared in like 2 episodes of Zeo, so I don't think anybody would have remembered him.
Yeah, no one cared about him.
I care about him.
Okay, well, I guess you're the only one, Riz.
Well, real too.
He's like, he's awesome.
My man was super important, and y'all just hating on the man.
But yeah, I hope I gave you some idea with that explanation. I know that was kind of all over the place.
Gunmajin.
Oh,
is his name.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, Bosco still has Ranger keys. Dun dun dun.
Yeah. And they're going to use them in a later episode. But we're not going to get to that because we have a movie now. And Bosco's not in the movie. Spoilers.
Nope. Which we will be covering next review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked this episode. Gives a lot of backstory for Marvelous, and I just want to say that Bosco might be one of my top 10 favorite Sentai villains. My all-time favorite would have to be a little bit more like a serious or complex one, because Bosco is like, I obviously prefer villains where I prefer a lot of, more morally ambiguous villains where, maybe they're not entirely evil, but if a villain is like really, but I can obviously settle for villains that are like, just pure evil, like, oh yeah, I'm evil, and I really don't care. Bosco is the perfect way to handle this, because Bosco is evil and boy, does he like to have fun being evil.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, total dick.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, he always has this real smug smile. He's just giggling all the time. Like he just loves to torture people and do terrible things. And can you
And
hate him?
the betrayal, like, man, big slap in the face.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you blame the guy?
Hmm.
It sounds like fun. Like, being evil sounds like fun.
And then can we talk about how, like, even after the Gokaigers get beaten by the Six Rangers, they were still beating the crap out of them without their suits.
Yep.
Man,
The Ranger Keys were punching them around.
Mm-hmm.
I especially felt bad for like freaking Luca and like I'm, because like Luca's my girl, so like see her in pain just irks my nerves. Like,
Yeah.
and then
The only weird thing, and this is just a nitpick, and I'm sure that we can get, and I'm sure that there's explanations. I just find it weird, and I understand why you do that from a meta perspective. Like, this was a very clever way to bring in like the other Ranger Keys, because I don't think it would make sense from like a story perspective for the Gokaigers to have all the Ranger Keys.
yeah,
It makes sense for them to get the sixth Ranger Keys better, and this was about as good as they could have done it. I think just some of that just I find weird is that in Marvelous's flashback, it's implied just before Bosco turns them over that Aqua Red assumes, and maybe Aqua Red was just being mysterious. I don't know. He just assumes that they've gathered all the Ranger Keys. I wouldn't understand why he would think that, why he wouldn't consider at least the sixth Ranger Keys, because he was like in his first appearance in Bokenja versus Super Sentai. I mean, he fought alongside two of them because Boken Silver and Maji Shine were there. I mean,
yeah.
wouldn't he have at least known about those Ranger Keys? And that's just a nitpick. I mean, maybe you could just assume that Aqua Red was secretly, maybe Aqua Red was secretly planning to find those Ranger Keys later, and Bosco just screwed those plans up. I can just assume that.
Well,
That's
there's another theory here at play. I don't think we ever get much detail on it from like how these keys get into Bosco's hands, but it might be possible that prior to the betrayal, Bosco just took him out of his chest and kept him separate just in case as a backup plan.
But then how does Marvelous look surprised like he's never seen those Ranger Keys before?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Good question.
Again, and it's just a nitpick, and I'm sure that there's several explanations that would have made sense. Like maybe Aqua Red, was planning to have them look for those keys later, and Bosco just ruined those plans with what he did. And again, I really like that. I like how they were able to come up with a very clever way to introduce the other Ranger Keys. Because again, I don't think that it makes sense for the Gokaigers to have the sixth Ranger and those other Ranger Keys yet in the series. So I definitely appreciate it. Unlike in Super Mega Force, where all of a sudden these sixth Ranger Keys are on the wall, even though they never appeared on the wall in previous episodes.
thank Block Super Mega Force.
Yeah, but yeah, I think I like how they bring in the sixth Ranger Keys. I'm definitely a very creative way of doing that.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
I'm not really complaining, just a minor plot hole, but there's logical explanations for it. So I'm
There's a
not
very
going to
simple
harp on it.
explanation for what's going on here.
Shut up, go say.
Stop.
And
We don't talk about that.
I'm sure Brock is going to say far too complex for you to understand.
I'm just saying, man. You asked, I gave you the answer.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode overall. I mean, it debuts Bosco, who's an amazing villain. The Ranger Key clone battles are good. I think the only problem, but again, this is just Sentai logic, is that when they're first fighting the Ranger Keys, they establish that like they're tougher. The Ranger Key clones are tougher than Zangiak,
Mm-hmm.
but they end up defeating them rather easily eventually. But again, that's just Sentai logic, where it's like they're easily defeated by a villain 1 minute, and then the next minute they're beating it with ease. So
I think what it was that like they were just surprised that there were more keys because they weren't prepared for that. Now that they know what's going on, now they can kind of prepare better for their next encounter.
Yep.
Because as you saw in like the last episode, you clearly see that they were like, being taken down by like, out the blue because they weren't sure what was going on. So once they actually now know what they're dealing with, now they can prepare better.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I'll buy that argument.
Yeah.
Because they did come out of nowhere and they were just like overrun and like, they weren't prepared for it.
I guess the only other thing,
they fought separately. I just remember that too. They fought two Six Rangers separately.
Mm-hmm.
As so.
I guess the only other thing I gotta wonder is, why is like Abar Killer, like he was the fifth ranger on the team? Why is he considered a sixth ranger? But Geki Chopper, who is also a white ranger, who was also the fifth member on the team, why isn't he considered a sixth ranger? And I guess, they just had to keep it under 15. And, I've seen Geki Ranger all the way through, and I guess they somewhat imply that maybe Geki Chopper is not strong enough to be considered a sixth ranger, but that's some really weird logic.
You also have to remember, like, Abar Killer was not actually an ally at first. He was.
Yeah, I remember.
An antagonist. Well, yeah, you already know because you all watched the show. I watched the show recently too, so I know this is all new. This is all like fresh in my mind. Like,
and that's not even a spoiler for people back home, because the White Dino Ranger was originally evil in Dino Thunder too. So
yeah, but like in Arbor Ranger, yeah, Abar Killer was evil for majority of the series.
yeah,
it's not how it was in Dino Thunder, where he just came good after like a few episodes later.
He stayed evil for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. So much so that in Dino Thunder, they had to come up with a story where they created an evil clone of the White Ranger just to work with there still being Sentai footage of the White Ranger doing evil stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, that was just something I want to bring up. Not a big deal. Even if Geki Chopper was a sixth ranger, I probably wouldn't. He's actually my least favorite Geki Ranger, so I don't really mind.
Design-wise, no, but as a character, yes.
Nothing against Dom. Nothing against Dom. I like Dom, and I've met his actor. His actor was awesome. I love you, Nikolai. You were really nice to me when I met you at Power Morphicon, but
he was okay to me. Like, I wasn't really a big fan of like his character in the show, but that's just me though.
But yeah, we're getting off subject. Point is that this episode was really awesome.
Yes.
Did you want to get more details, Riz?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, that about wraps this up then. So I guess to kind of recap, the only way that I can describe what we've gone through so far is that we had a 2-part tribute episode, 1 filler episode, and then tribute episode, and then a 2-part episode where a lot of stuff happened. So Gokaiger ain't wasting any time with its story stuff.
Nope, sure isn't.
Not at all.
Yeah. And it's still going pretty strong. I'm still, I watched Gokaiger multiple times, so I
have
kind of
I.
know what's filler and what's not. But at revisiting it like 10 years later, I'm still very much enjoying it. This rewatch. In fact, you know, I'll go into more detail in the next video when we talk about the movie. But just going through this rewatch, there is some stuff that I may not have been a big fan of, and I'll go into more detail because this mainly pertains to the next to the movie that we're going to be reviewing next time. But but there's actually some stuff that I may not have been a huge fan of that looking at it now, a couple of years later, I'm really starting to appreciate more. Like maybe I was just kind of being a bit of a nitpicking jerk, but I'm really appreciating the series more.
What a jerk.
So yeah, I know I'm a
It's
jerk,
okay to nitpick. You know,
but,
it's okay to nitpick every once in a while.
but yeah, we haven't really had a bad episode so far, and I don't think we're
No.
gonna get a
No.
bad episode.
Mm-mm.
You guys want to give a general recap of what you think of how the series is going?
It's going good so far. Like I'm enjoying I'm re-enjoying an episodes over again because I'm like, wow, this is actually as good as I watched it. You know, those some years ago.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Gokaiger still holds very true to what it was for me when I watched it maybe 8 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's been
Yeah.
really enjoyable, and this ride is not getting stale yet, so I'm pretty happy.
Well, the ride is going to be taking a bit of going to be speeding up next time, guys, because next time we're going to be dedicating an entire review to reviewing the. We were originally going to do it here, but I'm pretty sure that this video has become incredibly long, and if we were to include it in this video, it would be even longer. So we're
You
just
don't
going to
want that.
dedicate. Yeah. We're going to dedicate an entire video specifically to it. We're going to be reviewing Gokaiger, Goseiger, Super Sentai 199 Hero Great Battle, which is the crossover movie, as well as the anniversary special for Gokaiger. And it's going to be featuring the return of the Sentai that preceded Gokaiger, which is Tensou Sentai Goseiger.
Mhm.
We're gonna be getting to that shortly after we wrap up this video. We hope you guys will join us for that. Couple of quick things to tell you before we wrap up. So after we review the movie, we're going to be doing Gokaiger episodes 16 through 27. And the reason why we're reviewing the movie in between is because that movie, unlike most crossover movies, in fact, I would even say like 99% of them, we're not going. This isn't going to be a regular thing. Like maybe we'll do a separate thing for it, but this crossover movie actually has some like massive bearing on the plot of.
It's canon. It's basic
Yeah.
canon.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happens. In fact, spoiler alert: in the next episode in the series proper, they're going to be like they're going to tell us some stuff that only makes sense if you watch that movie. So we kind of have to review it. And we're probably not going to review the actual Gokaiger movie, the Flying Ghost Ship, or the Gavin movie, unless we decide we want to do that as a side thing at some point. But yeah, we'll be reviewing the movie, and then episodes 17 through 27. We'll be back on track reviewing 10 every video. I will be doing a personal video talking with you guys about a subject regarding Sentai that happened in 1995 that I've wanted to do for a while. I hope you guys will join me for that because I've read a lot of interesting stuff about this and I haven't seen many people talk about it on YouTube. So I want to be one of the first to do that. Hope you guys will join us for that.
Yeah, check us out. It's going to be really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, we hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, we hope you enjoyed listening. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe. Also, leave a comment down below if you want to see anything else covered on Toku Secrets. Also, check us out at animesecrets.org. Be sure to follow us on all the social media pages like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we hope you guys enjoyed this, and we will see you guys next time. We once again hope you guys enjoyed it. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. See you guys.
See y'all
Later.